The allegations I am levying towards YouTube are extremely serious, and I'm taking this video extremely seriously. YouTube, you guys either play favorites, you are racist, or it's a mix of the two. These are the three options, YouTube. Now, I realize that when you call someone a racist, that's a very, very serious accusation. And for that matter, how do you expressly prove that someone is a racist? I mean, unless they're spamming the N-word in the chat. How do you really know? And admittedly, I cannot 100% prove that race had everything to do with this. But I can tell you the people on that policy team, those shadow people that are anonymous and get to enact their will however they see fit. How can we be sure that they take a black person's video and a white person's video, and it can be the same exact video, and they restrict the black person's video, but not the white person's video? As one of the biggest black creators on the platform, I want you to hear it from my mouth that there is some shady business going on behind the scenes at YouTube.
I don't know. It's just kind of exhausting to have to overthink your content this much when it was just so much more fun before. But again,
I think
open discussion. I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to either. I'm speaking from my own experience.
I think on the other side is right.
I'm reading this correctly. I am an honest sport.
Fake! It's fake! That's what it is.
All right, guys, I've been having such a hard time making this video that I have seriously recorded over 80 gigs of videos trying to convey what is on my mind to talk about this topic. So let's hope that this is the recording that gets it across effectively. My name is Dan. I am no longer going to go off of script for this video. If you've ever watched other videos on this channel, I know that you're probably expecting something that's more lighthearted or funny in nature. Sorry to disappoint you. This video is going to be a little bit more serious. Now, if you are this far into the video and you're still wondering what's going on, or you're not familiar with what's been going on this week on YouTube, let me give you a quick recap. Long story short, popular Let's Player CoryxKenshin, who boasts about 14.2 million subscribers currently on his YouTube channel, he recently played the Mortuary Assistant, a game that I played on my own channel. All the other massive YouTubers like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye also played it on their channels. Now, one thing to note about the Mortuary Assistant is that the game offers branching story paths, so to speak. So every player has the chance of getting a different experience from, someone else playing the game. And one of the potential paths that you can get in the game includes themes related to self-harm. And this is the path that CoryxKenshin got in his playthrough. But it is notable that Markiplier and several others also had the same path. So after Cory uploaded his video, he noticed that he got an age restriction and none of the other big notable content creators had an age restriction, even if they had the same imagery that was in his video. Cory's response was to make a video which currently has 6.5 million views titled YouTube, Racism, and Favoritism. In this video, Cory alleges that YouTube is either punishing his channel on the basis of favoritism, or he makes the allegation of racism. Both of which we're going to talk about, but let's focus first on the allegation of racism.
The main man, CoryxKenshin, dropped an absolute banger of a video.
Yesterday, a very popular YouTuber named CoryxKenshin posted an absolute bombshell of a video.
Cory has some great points to make in the video. I would encourage you to watch it, like I said.
Today, we're talking about racism. And who better to discuss it than me, a white guy from New Hampshire.
Hey guys, it's me, white guy from Ohio. I'll be honest, after watching Cory's video, which we're still going to get to later on in this video, and watching all the other big YouTubers make videos responding to it, a lot of it feels like dick riding, to be honest. Although there are some good points brought up about favoritism in the video, I want to focus more exclusively right now on the allegations of racism. And I think the best way to broach a topic like that, in this case, is to analyze and talk about the importance and power of boogeymen and the conditions that must be met in order to manufacture them. Imagine it is a dark and peaceful night. The moon is out and you are swimming in the cold, still waters of a dark lake, when all of a sudden you feel something slimy brush up against your leg. Now, the human mind is an insanely powerful thing. So powerful that the individual's mind has this fortunate and sometimes unfortunate ability to affect the mindsets of those around them, particularly when we're talking about more primal brain functions such as fear. If you found yourself in that example, it's not hard to imagine that at least some part of yourself might be imagining things that are impossible. I know plenty of people with fears of sharks who would be thinking up some monstrous creature is about to pull them below the water, and very easily it could just be something simple like a stick covered in algae, or maybe the random innocent salmon brushing up against your thigh. Point being is that what you touched in that water is most likely not dangerous. But the funny thing about the human mind is that we focus so much on these little things that the real danger is just inherently ignored. In this case, the real danger, which is a very large killer, especially here in the United States when it comes to fresh water, is drowning. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because it does correlate with Cory's allegations of racism towards YouTube. Obviously, we live in divisive times. You guys don't need me to tell you that. We all know that. Everyone has different experiences of it. And that's the point in itself. We all have our own perspectives and biases. Sometimes we learn them based off of personal experience. Other times we learn them from other people. It can be people we look up to or people that we fear, people that we don't like. So what ends up happening is we allow ourselves to take our perspectives and our biases, and sometimes they can have a positive effect where we have something, well, not the biases, but we can use our perspectives for good. Other times we can let them blind ourselves, and we can let them misinform ourselves or misinform others as to what the actual proverbial slimy thing was in the lake that touched our leg. And that, unfortunately, in itself is more dangerous than whatever was in the lake, because we're taking the attention away from the actual dangers of drowning in the water, and we end up spreading a fear that might not be validated, might not have any evidence to confirm it, and what that ends up doing is it makes other people afraid to get in the water also. All you need to create a boogeyman is the right conditions. The most primary one being what I would refer to as the blank canvas. Back to the case of the lake example, it's dark, you can't see. All you're left with is just figments of what you see in the dark, and it's very easy to start filling that void with our own internalized fears and biases. Now, in the case of YouTube and CoryxKenshin, the company has grown so large that it has lost all transparency. It in itself has been just plunged into darkness. It's grown so large with automation, you can't even contact people anymore, especially for small channels, and I'm sure the big ones suffer from that too sometimes. Maybe not to the full extent as small ones, but they themselves do also. Ultimately, the lack of transparency just leaves creators asking why. And this is where I now want to go back actually about 11 months, where Cory has been mentioning this long before his most recent video this week. And you know, in this video, he himself is just baffled and wondering why.
All these years, YouTube, all this time that I've put into your platform, I thought that it would be worth just a little bit of respect. Just a micron of communication should you have a problem with me. Clearly, we're not on the same page that I thought we were. I got a community guideline strike, and I cannot tell you exactly why, because YouTube cannot tell me exactly why. And that is a problem. This is just a regurgitation of everything that I said to my partner manager Dom on the phone earlier today, and he was just very, very sympathetic, trying to do what he could, getting in touch with the policy team, talking to his manager about it, trying to get to the bottom of this, trying to dissuade me from thinking that this was targeted. I don't want to feel like that, but when you look at the facts, why now?
You know, this has been an irritation that has been growing on YouTube now for years. Ever since it departed from being that old platform that it's always been corporate, but there was a sense that you had ownership of it by being a creator yourself. YouTube really was just this bare bones software or this website that truly was built up from the ground by the people that were also putting their own effort from their own bedrooms.
This is an indie horror game. It was recommended to me by one of my YouTube friends, Sinshow1018.
Ah, God damn it! God damn it! Stop it! Stop!
How's it going, friends? My name is PewDiePie, and welcome to Friday with PewDiePie on a Friday.
We need to realize that YouTube is not what it used to be. YouTube has a limited amount of employees that are trying to canvas and keep eyes on a sea of content. I mean, I'll try, I'm going to find something. I'll put on the screen right now of how many hours of content I can't even imagine are released daily or hourly or weekly onto YouTube. For the algorithm to keep up with all that, to manage it, for automation to work effectively, I don't even know how they remotely pull it off. To me, I would imagine it's an absolute train wreck. And sometimes it is a train wreck, and we'll get to that as well. Hey guys, real quick, if you're curious about more reasonable examples of favoritism or more pervasive ones that you might be unaware of, you should look up videos talking about compression on YouTube and how the compression system favors certain YouTubers over others, and how as a smaller content creator, you have to sometimes upload or encode videos in ways that you can get your way around it. You can look that up by watching stuff related to the VP9 compression system. With YouTube and seemingly forgetting its roots with how large it grows, it has only fueled that boogeyman problem. Although I think right now that there's way too much blame pushed exclusively onto YouTube as a platform. And look, YouTube wholeheartedly deserves all the negative criticism that they receive for the most part. But I think that we get so caught up in admiration for our YouTube heroes and then the ones that we have all those nostalgic memories for, that we forget that they also share in the blame as well. And that sometimes they can fuel the problem, or they can just make a situation worse.
Now, of course, CoryxKenshin titled this video YouTube, Racism, and Favoritism. Now, I want to start this video off by saying racism and accusations thereof are very serious, and Cory himself admits to this in the video. Now, for me, obviously, the policy team is comprised of human beings. Human beings have biases. Cory has biases, I have biases, you have biases. Now, of course, to say that the policy team has racism going on there, pretty extreme, and it's not something that I can necessarily co-sign without actually deep diving everybody in that shadowy parts of YouTube.
Now, before I go any further and try and disprove to the best of my ability Cory's racism allegations, I think the best thing that we can do right now is analyze Cory himself for his own bias.
Sup YouTube, what's going on? This is CoryxKenshin, and welcome to IB. I think that's how you pronounce it. I just got done, finished.
I've been watching YouTube for probably ever since 2010, I'd say. All the way back to the original Amnesia playthroughs and whatnot. But when I stumbled across Cory back during his IB playthrough when it was first coming out, I got hooked on his content. There's something about him where Markiplier and all the others were goofy themselves, but it was like Cory wasn't aware of his goofiness, and that's what made him all the more genuine to me. There's something about him that was the most likable, and he quickly became my favorite Let's Player. As I got older and throughout the years, I started getting more distant from his content. Obviously, I started exploring other content creators on the platform. You know, no matter how long of a break he'd take, I'd always be waiting for the next video to come out. But it wasn't until recently that I saw a new video of his, and it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Win. Perfect.
Hey, how's it going? So, how you been? As many comeback videos as I've done, I never know exactly how to do them. But I tell you one thing. This is awkward.
Now, if you know anything about CoryxKenshin, He is famous and infamous for taking long breaks. Now, that's not the problem with the video in itself. If anything, I think that content creators should take breaks. It's good to take breaks. There's serious burnout. It can feel very isolating. There's a lot of reasons for that. There's life outside the walls. Go and enjoy it, right? The issue for me with the video instead was the way that he recollected on the last 3 months that he had been gone for.
Let me give you some context. Back it on up. First things first. Shout out to my boy Quincy. A lot of you asking, who the freak is Quincy? Quincy, I had the honor of meeting through the power of Make-A-Wish. Now, Quincy could have picked anybody in the whole wide world that he wanted to meet as his Make-A-Wish, and he chose me. And you already know, like, I just feel so honored.
Now, already it might be a matter of opinion that there is a smidgen of narcissism present just in the intro of this video, but it gets a lot worse. So just keep watching. Bear with me for the next minute or two. What would you think if I were to tell you about doing a Make-A-Wish for a child with cancer, to then immediately jumping into telling you I got to meet a celebrity, and then immediately after telling you about a merch drop? It just comes across as very surface value. It doesn't seem like it's real in the slightest bit. It seems like a perpetual pat on the back for the ego.
Quincy, who is 8 years old, has been a long time samurai. However, he had been diagnosed with brainstem glioma, i.e. brain tumor. Make-A-Wish reached out to me, and for the first time ever, I did a Make-A-Wish that was all virtual, and all we did was hung out and we played some scary games. And not only shout out to Quincy, you know we had to shout your mom out too, my guy. Thank you, Natalie, for reaching out to me, for bringing this to my attention. Quincy, we love you. All the samurai are here for you. Number 2, I got to meet Shannon Lee, aka the daughter of Bruce Lee himself.
Cancer child. Number 2. Bruce Lee's daughter. I mean, seriously, I just don't see how, look, as someone that edits a lot, there is insane power to editing when it comes to suggestion and how you can present things. Now watch as I make his even worse.
Now, Quincy could have picked anybody in the whole wide world that he wanted to meet as his Make-A-Wish, and he chose me. And you already know, like, I just feel so honored. He had been diagnosed with brainstem glioma, i.e. brain tumor. Make-A-Wish reached out to me, and for the first time ever, I did a Make-A-Wish that was all virtual, and all we did was hung out and we played some scary games. Number 2, I got to meet Shannon Lee, aka the daughter of Bruce Lee himself.
I don't understand how you can be that blind, how insensitive that comes across about talking about a fan, that them having cancer. It just feels like it's just glossed over. Like, it doesn't matter that they have cancer or not. All that mattered was that you felt honored that they chose you, and then you were able to talk about it in your back from retirement video number 20. And then immediately you just go into nothing. Just number 2, you can just start talking about the next achievement that you feel like you have.
Oh, you think I'm capping? You think I'm lying? Look at your face. Cory, roll this montage real quick on him. Remember, I did the Bruce Lee collaboration merch drop. Now, I had no idea this was gonna happen, but shout out to my dude Vincent over at Represent for orchestrating me meeting Shannon Lee. Once again, another incredible experience that I'm super blessed to have been a part of.
Woo! Merch drop! If you think I'm just being tit for tat, or I'm being really picky right now, or I'm cherry picking, I'll let Cory put it in his own words how he summarizes everything that he's said so far up until that point.
And that was pretty much it. Wait. Hold on. I don't want. Listen. Wait. Hold on. Okay. I know you're thinking that's it. That was 3 months worth of activities. listen. Yes.
Now, in all fairness, do I think that this is what he intended for it to look like or come across as? No, I don't. Do I think he cares about Quincy? Yes, I do. Do I think that he is genuinely honored to be a part of Make-A-Wish for the good reasons? Yes, I do. Do I think he has a little ounce of narcissism? I also do. I think that becomes natural for anyone that achieves that level of success. Now that we have that out of the way, we can finally focus on the thing I've been promising since the beginning of the video, which is to take a look into Cory's own personal biases and perspectives, some of which are probably based off of personal life experiences that none of us could ever know aside from him. And we are going to look at this through Twitter. Now, keep in mind that Twitter allows for a spur-of-the-moment brain dump at any point in the day for any user. We're all human, and all of our rash emotional thinking can make us all look pretty shitty pretty easily. And here's one that I find funny right here, which is kind of what I'm doing in this video. So if there's any other CoryxKenshin fans, I'm a CoryxKenshin fan despite being critical. This is what he himself said. But no, really, I actually disagree with this tweet on a whole other level. It, to me, is almost as though if anyone is disagreeing with me, just ignore them because they're wrong. All they are is negative. There's no positivity to any form of criticism whatsoever. But getting to the meat and the potatoes of his Twitter posts, I don't think there's any that's more important or more damaging than his post on the week of the George Floyd riots. Now, obviously, during this time, if you look back yourself, I'm not going to post all of them here. Cory posted a lot of tweets relating to African-American struggle, a lot of themes or movements associated with Black Lives Matter. So Cory firsthand is someone that knows from the George Floyd riots how damaging and destructive racism allegations can be, whether they're true or not. And I really need you to just keep in mind the statement true or not. Yet he's still without evidence. And he himself admitting how destructive it can be, these allegations, sends this email immediately blasting claims of racism towards YouTube.
This was targeted. I don't want to feel like that, but when you look at the facts, why now? Why is my channel so much more thoroughly scrutinized? Especially so when I've been #1 trending multiple days in a row, which I've done multiple times. And every single time I start to get an uptick in traction, an uptick in activity, here comes YouTube coming through. Hey, let's get him for that video from 2019. Yeah, you see this, Cory? No, this is bad. Nothing ever happens until I come back and I start uploading again and I'm getting my numbers, they're climbing, they're exploding, I'm #1 trending, and then they're like, hey, we need to stop him. We need to, this black man, he's getting too many views, he's getting too much exposure, too much activity.
Every single time he has ever reached trending, something always happens shortly after that just knocks him down again. But my point being is that if this is all the evidence that he is relying off of, more than anything, is just that reason why, and he's using this reason why to push his own personal bias and boogeyman onto a very impressionable audience. And in a way, he's corrupting how to fix YouTube by turning this into a Trojan Warhorse for his own personal perspectives and bias, not actually what the reality might be across the platform for creators and what the real root issue is. I mean, let's be realistic here. This isn't anything new in the slightest bit. So like 11 months ago, Cory was already starting to make his allegation loosely in his video. And just 8 months ago, so even after then, PewDiePie himself, a white YouTuber, is making videos about copyright issues, and glaring ones too, in which other people are actually claiming his music videos.
practically my entire library from 2016 and backwards. It's just gone. It's blatant theft a lot of the times too. And I've had this problem too recently where all my music got claimed. I don't know if you noticed this, but if you go to Bitch Lasagna, you can see that it's been claimed by a company called Repost Network, and then parentheses, on behalf of PewDiePie. Nah.
This video is long enough as it is, but CoryxKenshin isn't the only one. PewDiePie isn't the only one. If you're curious, you can do some research yourself if you want. It's kind of interesting. Look up Moist Critical and Markiplier, or this week when Markiplier himself got punished. Quantum TV beat Actman. There's so many cases of all different shapes and sizes, races and ethnicities, genders and sexual orientations, and it can go both ways. Everyone gets screwed over equally. And that's something to remember too in the end, is that there is a hierarchy on YouTube. There are different tiers. At the bottom of the tier, you have me. And at the top of the tier, you have people like Markiplier, PewDiePie. Let's do a little example right here. Let's say I give you PewDiePie, CoryxKenshin, and Markiplier, and we're trying to decide which one is the most marketable for YouTube. If we compare subscriber counts, you have CoryxKenshin, who gets actually more viewership than either of the other two. Then you have Markiplier, with middle viewership, maybe a little bit more than PewDiePie, with less subscribers than PewDiePie, but more than CoryxKenshin. And then you have PewDiePie, someone that's been around forever. He's the staple of Let's Plays. And this is someone that has over 100 million subscribers. But if we had to be honest here on which one is the most marketable to YouTube, it's going to be Markiplier. Out of all three of these, the two that are the most house-known names are going to be Markiplier and PewDiePie. Now, PewDiePie, despite having that, has had his own issues in the past, which obviously is going to make him lose favor with YouTube. Which, once again, there's another example of favoritism. He lost a lot of favor on YouTube, and it wasn't race-based. He just wasn't as useful to them anymore. And it doesn't end there either. If we want to talk about racism inherently being on, like, within YouTube as Cory tries to paint it to be, what about Actman versus Quantum TV? I don't think that had anything to do with race in the end. I don't think so whatsoever. I think it was YouTube being stubborn on when to double down, triple down. They didn't want to look stupid after doubling down on something that was a bad move for them from the get-go. And I'd be making this same video about anyone if I saw them pushing their own personal bias or their own personal perspective into what might be a root issue that's affecting everyone equally. You know, though, one thing that I actually did really love about the video was the ending. I really enjoyed the part where Cory talks about his irritation and frustration towards YouTube on the basis of belittlement in the same fashion that you see when every single time you sign on to Netflix. What do you see? You go on to Amazon Prime, you see the same thing. You'll see them all pushing, oh, black content creators this, black musicians this, black that. And they just cram it down your throat. And it's their way of trying to appear as though that they are woke so desperately. They're so desperate to avoid any ism being thrown at them. Racism being one of the worst claims that someone could make towards a corporation these days. So what do? They try and uplift the black creators, and they try and make it as though, oh, see, we're putting you guys on the front page of everything. Go and check them out. But what it really does is it's just belittlement. What you're saying when you do that is black people are not capable like everyone else, or they're not capable by their own merit to produce content on the same level of everyone else.
I believe there is some racism involved within the policy team, and YouTube in general really doesn't care about black people like that. They got their favorite creators. You know, log out of YouTube. Log out and go to YouTube. You'll see the people on the front page every single day. You'll see the favorites. Count how many are black. Count how many are of people of color. So then what does YouTube try and do? They try and peddle YouTube black. They try and give us a spotlight. And do you know how condescending and patronizing that is? Oh, yeah, let's give a spotlight to these black creators because we're all about diversity. All this communicates is black people aren't good enough on their own skill, on their own merits, on their own talent. So we got to give them a spotlight. We got to come down and raise them up so they can get some spotlight action.
At the same time, though, this is something that greatly irritates me about CoryxKenshin, unfortunately, is I see something that is blazingly hypocritical. in that clip when he's talking about how, oh, all you have to do is sign out of your account and then just go to the homepage of YouTube and then count how many people you see that are people of color or black compared to white faces that you're going to see pop up on there. And what I'd say to that is that's explainable too. This is where I feel like we've just departed from reality, and it's gotten to the point where it is just diluted. Just think to yourself right now, what countries, what parts of the world geographically contribute the most to uploading to YouTube? What you're gonna get is Western countries. Right off the bat, you can narrow that down to Western countries. Of these Western countries, you have a lot of uploaders from Europe and from the United States. You also have a lot from Asia. And from the United States alone, if you just, this isn't to offend anyone, this is just being realistic. We should be focusing on these statistics to try and fight against misinformation that Cory's spreading right here. Of the population, this is how much is white currently in the United States. And you can make that number even bigger when it comes to Europe. And when you go to Asia, you can find populations that are almost entirely Asian. So of course, if you want true equality on the platform, it's not going to be 50-50 on the homepage. What he's asking for then is I want you to bump the numbers so that's in favor of people of color and black people that are uploading content onto YouTube. I want to be on there just as equal as the white people on there. Well, then you're not asking for actual equality anymore. At that point, you're asking for just equal outcome. And that has never been a meritocratic system, which is what you were just asking for. You were just asking for a system that judged you based on your merit. I see you as an equal. Everyone should see you as an equal. You deserve that. You're a talented YouTuber. You are a talented Let's Player. You've always been my favorite Let's Player. I see the value in that. And I want you to, and I want anyone else that is within your community that also is influenced by you just as much as I was, or is to be influenced by you as much as I have been. I want them to know that all that you should have to be able to do is just produce good content. We shouldn't be bumping numbers and playing with statistics to try and make, oh, the homepage looks the same. It looks equal now. Well, what about population size then? And this is a man too that can constantly pull trending more than anyone else. This is a man with an insanely fast-growing YouTube channel, with more viewership than probably any other Let's Play channel, a very active community, yet he still is claiming racism, and somehow that YouTube is pushing him down. If YouTube really wanted to push him down, he would have been pushed down a long time ago. And in addition to that, this is someone that is constantly saying, oh, I don't like the way that YouTube operates on this way. I don't like that woke element to the company where they feel like they have to equalize things, right? But then he turns around and the way he writes his emails and the way that he makes his video with no evidence of any racism happening whatsoever in this case, you're weaponizing this woke company's fears against itself, which is only going to make it become more and more that way, which is ultimately just going to produce, one, it's going to produce more favoritism towards people like you, and two, it's going to do is YouTube's going to think, oh, okay, so, oh wow, that made us look bad in the media. Let's throw more black content creators on the homepage. Let's advertise more black Let's Players. Let's advertise more black comedians and black musicians on YouTube. Those are the things that you say you don't want. This is what happens when you have a pure message that YouTube needs to hear. And this is where the value of your video, Cory, did come from, was that you are pointing out a very important issue of favoritism on YouTube that does exist. Everyone knows it. Markiplier knows it. PewDiePie knows it. Tiny channels like my own know it. Viewers know it. Everyone knows it. So it's good when you talk about these issues. But what happens is when you create your own Trojan Warhorse, where you start mixing your own fears because you have that question why in your mind, when you start mixing that with that pure message, it's always going to lead to more problems. And funny enough is it's like shooting yourself in your own foot. It's always going to lead to more problems that in the first place you didn't like. Anyways, guys, I've been talking for long enough. I just want people to know, if you skipped around this video, I understand. It's a long video. This isn't what I normally do. Give me your own opinions on things. I don't expect anyone to agree with me on things, and sometimes don't expect me to agree with you on everything. I respect your opinion, and I hope you respect mine as well. I appreciate you watching this video. This is, I think, a very serious topic that I'm worried will just slip down the proverbial mudslide of a litany of other problems that people are just going to start combining with it. Oh, well, this happened to me because this happened. This happened to me because of that reason. Oh, this happened. I could turn around and say to you right now, oh, I believe 100% that the reason why this is all happening to Cory is because he's Christian and he puts in scripture at the end of his videos. Do I have any evidence for that? None whatsoever, but that's what it is. And I am going to fight against favoritism under the banner of religious persecution. And what that does is it starts fractionalizing everything. It causes infighting. It's divisive. We don't need any more of that, especially when you don't have proof. And people are going to start going about handling this issue with the wrong set of tools and the wrong mindset. Anyways, I'm done ranting. Not ranting. Hopefully it wasn't a rant for you guys. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't, I haven't uploaded in like 10 days. I just started my next semester of school. This coming week, it's going to be back to regular schedules. I'm hoping to do one video every 2 days or 3 days. So it's going to go back to normal. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. And I will see you in the next video. Be nice to each other in the comments, okay?